directly about the report, about the visit, about anything coming up. So, one quick thing that we wanted to review and really put this together just because we think it's so impressive and that it is not typical of the normal community college who is expecting a middle states visit. So we wanted to point out how engaged this Board of Trustees has been over the last couple of years as we prepare for the visit. And I'll just highlight real quick, right, your participation started in January 2021 when you extended the strategic plan. You allowed us to come and present and request feedback on the process several times. Trustee Ghartey participated even in a working group. Highly unusual, very impressive. You welcomed Terrence Peavy first and then Dr. McBulloch next with the presentations, and you are now preparing for a very informed visit by the evaluating team in April. So we're very excited and we're very grateful for the participation and the engagement shown by this board.
So we want to go over the next steps briefly. The big one that's coming is the on-site evaluation visit from April 16th through 19th. So on April 16th at 5 p.m. at the hangar, we will be having the reception dinner. Susan is going to hand out your invitations. If you can give them back to your RSVPs to Joya tonight, that would be great. You can choose which dinner you would like. There's choices on there. And if you can't get it tonight, have it to the President's office by May 5th, so we can get the correct number of people for the caterer. Following that, on either Monday or Tuesday, they will be expecting to have a meeting with the Board of Trustees. Right now, we have it tentatively scheduled for Monday, April 17th at 3 p.m., but check your schedules, and if other times work better, we'll move that around because we want to prioritize that meeting. We do have to operate under the restriction of kind of 9 to 5 on Monday and Tuesday in terms of meeting times. The campus-wide report-out meeting is Wednesday, April 19th, tentatively scheduled for 11 o'clock in the theater. That will also be broadcast via Zoom, though, so that's something that could be watched as well. As soon as that meeting is over, they'll just walk out and be on their way. Following that, they will have their decision and their commission action. We have fall 2023 up here. That's the latest it could be. It could happen as early as June or July in the summer, just depending on their schedule and how many colleges they need to get through.
And I was just going to talk briefly about the attempts that we've made over the last 2 years to make sure that the campus is informed. We believe, a fairly robust communication strategy that we've used. From the very beginning, we had a tab on my DCC where we put the information that was being generated by the process, and everyone on campus was able to go and access it and see it as it was building over time. Additionally, we made sure that we had a representation of all of the major meetings that happened throughout the year, the PSO, the DAC meetings, ISC, ASC, all of the abbreviations. We made sure that we were there to report. And then we also solicited feedback as we went through sort of the process of building the body of work. So each major step that we took, each product that we then made it available to the campus community, solicited feedback, and then integrated that into the next steps. And then finally, in the last 6 weeks here, we have a 6-week campus update that we've been sending out once a week. And the idea was that we were going to take the maybe slightly overwhelming report at times and break it down into 8 chunks and be able to send it out into a little bit more consumable bite size for the members of the campus community, as well as incorporate some updates in terms of what's happening with the team visit, give them some tips on what they should expect if they're pulled into a meeting. And we also had the students of our Communications 250 class, Dana Weidman's class, has developed some public service announcements about middle states that we are then linking in and showing videos that the students have made about those things. And then that gets us to asking if you have any questions for us. And I believe this script sheet is Summary was provided for you in your packets, so we are ready to answer any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions? So I had asked last time, do you think we're going to have, do you have an idea what kind of questions the evaluators would ask of us?
Yes, so I think asking about how involved the board has been in the process is something that will happen. And asking about how communications were distributed across campus is likely to happen. And then really the governance standard, standard 7, is the one that this board should be focusing on.
So I don't have to memorize the weaknesses, strengths. Okay.
I might ask you about them, and when Ghartey was here, he asked that question of you early in the process, so I'm sure that could come up again. But I think it'll only come up in the context of
The report notes that there's a lack of diversity amongst the Hispanic community in our teachers. Also, I can go on. You're very clear and honest about it. That's why I don't really have any questions, because it is what it is. I just want to make sure that we're prepared. So the engagement, thanks to Lisa, Trustee Ghartey, is pretty high up there, I know. And then we've had presentations and presentations. For those who weren't here when we extended the mission, that was really because we were in the process of looking for a new president, and it became, we thought it was more prudent to just go extend it for 2 years and allow the new president to put his, her, or their stamp on it. And plus, we thought it would be kind of inopportune to try to figure out a grand strategy when we were in the middle of topsy-turvy COVID land. So I assume that the evaluators kind of know some of that stuff in the first place. Yeah, because it's affected every college around the United States, still is. So I think the long report is great. It documents step by step, but you just talked about how it's communicated, and it's all in there. So I won't be trying to memorize as much stuff with you. So.
Well, they know the things that you just talked about, the impact of COVID, all of those things, but they want to hear it from us as well. So don't be shy in saying things that you think they know, because they want to know that you know, right?
Are there any other questions?
So your presentation, sure. Yes, Peter.
So we've also asked members of the board, if you have questions as they arise, if you would send them to Joya, and Joya will make sure that they get to members of the team.
Susan, on that first sheet that you showed, because I'm newer to the board of all the history, could we have access to that? Because I would just like to.
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, we'll ask Drea to share this with everyone.
Okay, thank you.
We also have some written tips for successful meeting with the evaluators, which we can chat with you about now, but we'll send as well. Up to you.
Is that a shorter crib sheet for us to keep in our hands?
I think it's short enough that you'll remember. So would you like the tips?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome the evaluators. We're the hosts. We're happy they're here. They're spending a lot of time with us. If they ask you a question that you don't know, just say you don't know. Don't try to make something up. If they ask you a question you do know, we ask, of course, please respond. Be honest. Be brief, because we're trying to hear from as many people as possible in these meetings, and then let somebody else chime in. And if they ask you something that you think is very clearly elaborated upon in this beautiful report, as Dr. Jordan said, don't shy away from answering because you think, well, they must know it already. They might be looking to see that you've engaged with the process and the material. So feel free to say, oh yes, I think that was covered under the section on student learning and whatever the question might be. That's it. Those are the questions.
I will add that I was sort of surprised myself, and I'm the longest serving trustee up here now, that we had all the programs that relate to studying abroad. I don't think I'd heard that before. I know the international students we've had before and we continue to want to cultivate, but I didn't realize that we partnered with other institutions, and the list of nations that was shown was pretty impressive. So.
I hope to be able to get back to it at some point.
I think you said they were gonna be starting,
There's
see, I memorized too much.
one,
In
yeah,
spring
whatever
2000,
they know.
spring in 2023 is what's listed.
Yeah.
Do we have any students who are partaking in those kinds of courses right now? Do we know?
I think a Jamaica trip is happening.
Yeah.
Caribbean trip, Jamaica
Caribbean.
trip, actually was happening.
Jamaica was listed separately, if I recall correctly, its own little destination, so that's one, okay.
Do they need a board of trustee?
Chaperone.
Chaperone? I don't know.
Perhaps.
I think the faculty got you on that one.
Any other questions? And for all the newer members, if you have any questions about the history of the engagement, you know, you can also talk to me or Angela, one of us. They're going to give you this kind of report, very static. We'll give you the more basics behind
Okay.
it. Because literally with the strategic plan, we were kind of knocking our head on the wall going, what do we do? Because it was due. But we'd suspended all efforts on that to continue it going because of COVID. So and some people, I think there were members of the faculty at one point who said, well, you're just punting. It wasn't that we were just kicking it down the road. We were like, we need the time to start over again. And with new leadership coming in, and what we assume would be new leadership, that's why it happened the way it happened. And it was just a 2-year extension, that's all. So.
I will take you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, guys, if there are no other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for all your hard work behind on this. I know
Thank you.
what it's taken. The next item on the workshop agenda is the educational presentation on student well-being. Welcome. For those trustees who haven't met, this is Diana.
Hello. Thank you, Joya. Hi, good evening. Thank you for inviting me up here tonight. I'm going to be going over updates of the Counseling Center, what we've been working on this past year, and answer any questions. I am not a teacher, so I apologize. Susan is a teacher. This is out of element. One-on-ones, I'm pretty good at for my role, but here we go. So in spring of 22, the DCC Counseling Center returned back into in-person services. We provide free and confidential services to currently enrolled students. We have on staff 2 part-time counselors and myself as a full-time clinician. Our counselors provide culturally responsible and trauma-informed care, and the objective is to work with our students to improve their overall wellness, to enhance their interpersonal relationships and their coping skills, and also help them balance their priorities so they can be successful inside the classroom as well as outside. I'm gonna turn my page. So last spring, I met with Dr. Jordan, and we spoke about the vision of the Counseling Center and how we really wanted to move away from being just in our own silos. So the model that I gravitated most towards was the comprehensive counseling model. The emphasis with the counseling model, this counseling model, is that we really focus on being proactive on campus. So that's emphasis on workshops, tabling events, screening events, educational and training opportunities for our students to partake in. We still provide individual counseling as well as group therapy and consultation services, but a big part of our work is being out on the campus providing workshops and educational training. So for example, this spring we provided 5 wellness workshops, 5 tabling events, 2 screening events, 2 Narcan trainings, and 2 groups with my staff. So we're really proud of what we've accomplished. And why I gravitated towards the comprehensive counseling model is that it really provides a wraparound support system for our students that focuses on offering opportunities for our students to receive services in a multitude of different ways. So yes, individual counseling is one aspect of receiving services, but also going to a group, being socially connected with their peers in that aspect as well really broadens the net of students that we reach beyond just one-on-one counseling. Prior to the pandemic, the counseling office had a nurse practitioner on staff that was able to provide psychiatric medication. We are fortunate to have joined the SUNY Student Telehealth Counseling Network. It's a whole word load. But this is a partnership with Upstate Medical University. And so we are fortunate that we are able to provide our students psychiatric services through Zoom, HIPAA-compliant Zoom, and they also provide up to 8 sessions of cognitive behavioral therapy. So our students really been able to take the advantage of the opportunity to receive medication management without going to an outside agency. These services are free to all SUNY students, and they provide discounted rates for prescriptions. What I also have taken advantage of is being a part of the Zoom monthly phone calls with Dr. Lucas from Upstate Medical University and the other 32 SUNY schools that are partaking. So we're able to have conversations on trends that we're seeing with our students and also receive resources and webinars. In January of 23, DCC Counseling Center joined a pilot program with 6 other SUNY schools to partner with Christie Campus. Christie Campus provides 24/7 crisis services. As you may be aware, a crisis usually doesn't happen at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the counseling center. It usually happens around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, the late night hours. So for our students, the opportunity is now that if they are in crisis, they can contact the counseling center's number, and Christie Campus will pick up after 5 p.m. This also allows, Christie Campus is actually in the process of getting to know our campus, getting to know our resources that we have available, such as DCC Care. So if we have a student who's in crisis, who's expressing they're going through housing insecurity, Christie Campus will be able to provide them the number, the email for Whitney Morris for DCC Cares. So this goes beyond just reaching out to 988, which is our new national hotline for suicide, but it also brings us that closer connection that our students will have. In addition to having 24/7 crisis services, Christie Campus also has been working with our social marketing team and John Meagle on creating a wellness hub. So it'll be a connection to the Counseling Center's website that will provide articles on such issues as self-care, destigmatizing mental health, and related articles that will be updated quarterly. So I'm very happy to share that we are moving forward with the meditation space in Hudson Hall. I've been working closely with Bridget Anderson, who's here tonight, and Bonnie Gallagher. Though I just stopped by the room, and it was recently painted. The study cubicles will be removed shortly. There are privacy screeners that have been put up. And we've had a number of faculty and staff come forward saying, what services can I offer? I'm a yoga teacher. I would love to do something on mindfulness. So again, this is just another avenue to promote overall wellness, taking care of ourselves. And it's not just for our students, but also for our faculty, staff, and the remainder of our DCC community. John Meagle. John Meagle and his team, Celeste, Jacqueline, Eric, have been really helpful in building the momentum with our social media on the types of services, trainings, and education programming we offer at DCC Counseling Center. In the fall, it was like putting on my training wheels. I really didn't know how to promote what we were doing. So we had flyers. Not that helpful. But having the access to really utilize social media has been super important, and the feedback from our students has said, yes, this is where I'm seeing the information being displayed. So some of the things that we're talking about doing is having scheduled posts, PSAs around mental health, substance misuse that sometimes gets overlooked, in suicide prevention. We're also looking at how we can do peer-to-peer support. So we have campaigns in the works called Seize the Awkward that really helps our students begin to have the conversation when they see another student struggling. You know, what can they say to start the conversation? Because that's usually the hardest part is, how do I start this? What do I say? What if I say the wrong thing? So Seize the Awkward is a perfect example of a campaign that helps our students break those barriers. Another important goal, especially when I spoke to Dr. Jordan, was really utilizing the experts in the community and fostering that, cultivating those relationships with our outside partners. So these are some of the partnerships we've had this past year. April, we are working with Planned Parenthood, Grace Smith House, Hudson Valley Communities, and Dutchess County Department of Behavioral and Community Health to offer a STI event to talk about sexual health. We are bringing back on-site STI testing in the fall. In May is Mental Health Awareness Month. We are working with the Mid-Hudson chapter of NAMI, and we will be putting up ribbons across campus to promote mental health awareness. So these are just some of the examples of how we're working with these partnerships. JED Campus, this is something that I'm really, really passionate about working with JED Campus. JED Campus, we signed a contract with them in September of 22. It's a 4-year collaboration to really look at, assess, and strengthen the mental health systems we have in place here at DCC. This first year is all about assessing what's been working, what's not working, looking at areas of consideration and the onboarding process. Part of the onboarding process was reaching out to various voices on campus and asking if they want to be a part of this conversation. So we have members across campus, faculty, staff, students, our upper leadership involved in the conversation of how to prioritize mental health and really look at what's been working and what we can continue to focus towards to support our students. JED Campus has 4 critical elements for successful outcome implementing their strategic plan they're creating for us. The 2 ones that I really want to focus on are the first one, support and engagement for senior leadership. So JED Campus in February came and visited our college and met with our JED Campus team, and I am happy to report that Dr. Jordan partaked in it, Dr. Houston was involved, as well as Scott. And so this sends a message that our upper leadership really supports prioritizing students' mental health needs, and we continue to ask for your support, but thank you so much for showing up. The second that I really want to focus on is a shared vision that student well-being is everyone's responsibility and linked to student success. So again, this moves away from the counseling center being in just its silo, that everyone plays an integral role in supporting our students' mental health needs, and that involves having the proper training. And I think the pandemic really helped crack open the fact that for many of us, we don't feel comfortable talking about mental health with our students. But we want to be able to support our students. So having the adequate training, and that requires having training in trauma-informed care, and that includes our frontline responders, our housekeeping, our security, our students, our faculty, our staff. But having the proper training so when we see a student struggling, we know how to respond appropriately and how to refer them appropriately. In December, JED Campus actually sent us a feedback report on areas that we're doing really well in, as well as areas of consideration. This will be available on our JED Campus landing page on the new website in the near future, but I did want to mention one of the limitations that was really interesting that came up in our feedback report was that the comprehensive counseling model that I've just been praising about has limitations. But the limitations really focus on the clinical scope, that it's not sustainable with the amount of students that we have coming in the counseling center and the limited staff that we have. So one of the recommendations was really implementing a program called the Step Care Model. And so to kind of review what the Step Care Model is, it's student-centered. So for example, recently we had a student who was having an issue with a faculty member, and they were referred to the counseling center. Now, back in the fall, all I was doing was saying, if you're seeing a student struggle, send them to the counseling center. Sending them to the counseling center really isn't appropriate for one-on-one counseling for the situation. So the Step Care Model would say, this student actually would do better in a conflict resolution workshop and offering several conflict resolution workshops. So the students can really focus on building that skill. When they have a difficulty with somebody, how to respond in that situation instead of react. So the Step Care Model really breaks it down to the student center and also explores their point of needs as well as their point of readiness. And it also takes the weight off the shoulders of the counseling center, that everyone's referred to the counseling center for one-on-one therapy. I didn't need my slides. So this is the end, but I just wanted to open up to questions. This past year has been really rewarding. I'm very, very proud of my counseling staff in stepping up and offering lots of different avenues of promoting mental health and wellness and resiliency skills and in building their adaptive coping skills. But I'm also very proud of the DCC community and coming forward and saying, how can we be a part of this conversation? I want more training. I want to learn more. I want to be more effective for my students. So, it's been very, very rewarding experience, and thank you. Any questions? Yes.
First comment, like I came here fall 2021, so it really feels like I watched the counseling center grow from like a baby to what it is right now, and it's beautiful. I'm genuinely like so proud of all the work that's went into it, and all of my friends and just students I see who I speak to who have come to the counseling center or even looking at it, it's all positive things like this really, really works. So, there's a lot of factors with like students who are like told that therapy is bad or feel insecure about mental health, even though it's being more talked about and everything. All of this to say that this is great and I love this. Just 3 questions. So you said the crisis services, is there a number for it, or is it going to be solely online?
It's going to be our number.
Oh.
It's going to be the counseling center's number, so it won't be so confusing to our students. So if they call after hours, after 5 p.m., Christie campus will pick up, and Christie campus will be informed of the resources we have on here on campus, rather than calling the helpline or 988 when they don't really know who we are and they don't know what we have to offer. And then Christie campus will send me a login of the conversation, whether if it's emergent, I'll receive a phone call right away. If someone's going to the hospital, I'll be updated right in that moment. If it's not emergent, then I'll receive a call in the next morning to follow up with that student.
And the meditation room is probably not going to be done this semester, is it?
I would love a soft launch date in May. That's what I'm hoping for. But we've got some stuff on my end, not on anyone else's end, but my end to order yoga blankets, bolsters, blankets, books. Yeah.
Last one, I promise. Actually, this is more of a suggestion because you had talked about like sending out, what did you say, like social media to get to people. I think if it's possible, because I know some, like some services offer, I know EOP does like text messages. I think that would be great, especially if you're going through something and you like are going through your phone and trying to see who can I go to, and then you see like, oh, y'all texted me a little while back, you know what, let me give it a shot. I think that would really help out. So
I like that.
Possibly do that. That was all I had.
Thank you. And something that's come up, we are such a limited staff, 2 part-time clinicians and then myself as a full-time clinician. So when a student comes in, we always validate that. A lot of students have come in and they've had really bad experiences previously in therapy. They didn't choose who they wanted to work with. There was little to no trust with previous therapists when they were younger. So we try to come to the perspective of meeting them where they're at and recognizing that they may have trauma from just working with a private therapist in the past. And that, if we're not somebody they think they're going to work with, they're not stuck with just us, that we will help connect them to outside providers as well. We have a very nice detailed list of people who are taking in-person as well as telehealth. But we just want them to know that we really want to meet them where they're at, and that if we're not, if they don't vibe with one of us, that we're willing to work with them and connect them outside as well, and not make them feel like they're falling between the gaps.
Can you talk a little bit more about the Christie campus?
Yep.
You've had as one of the community providers and liaisons the helpline, which is staffed about a mile down the road at emergency response. So why, instead of partnering with the helpline, would you partner with an outside agency that doesn't know our community?
So this was something that came up through a pilot program with SUNY, and yes, the possibility of a partnership with Helpline could be in the near future, but right now it feels like every time I speak to them, they are overwhelmed with the whole county. And so this opportunity came up where I was like, let's lean into it. There's other SUNY schools who are partaking, so we can be together through this process and support each other. In the future, maybe this is just a 1-year contract with Christie campus.
How much is the contract?
It's free.
Okay, that's good.
That's
free?
Yeah. A free SUNY pilot program, and again, it's a year program, and so after we can look at it and be like, is this really working for us? Do we want to stay local? Yeah.
But I mean, we have a representative from the legislature here. I think if the dialogue is that they're not able to do this, I mean, I doubt that there's a lot of calls coming in. So I would, if you're getting resistance to that, please reach out to the board and let us help facilitate that, because I
Okay.
don't think that we need to have a duplication of services
Mhm.
where it's not necessary.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I will
Or
say
comments?
off that, I do think it can be a little bit intimidating for students, the helpline. So I don't know why that for like Trustee campus, it's a little bit sweeter. And it's new, it's not something that you constantly hear helpline, 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 you know what I'm saying? So I kind of like that we're trying something different. So.
And we do promote Dutchess County Helpline's app. That's something that we really do like to advertise. Our students really like the app. They like their ability to create safety plans on it. That's not something that Chrissy offers. But I do really like the app, and we do work closely with mobile crisis team when we have a student in crisis, and they've been fantastic coming to campus or staying on the phone with the student. So I don't see that partnership minimizing at all. But the idea of working with other SUNY schools was really appealing in this pilot program.
How many students access the center?
How many students
Access the center?
this semester? We have students who have ongoing therapy, and I would say we have around 35 students who are ongoing, which means weekly, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe once a month. Total for this semester, we're pushing closer to 65, 70. So they come in, they have a consultation. Sometimes they're referred to a group, like we have a grief group that's going on right now. Again, we're looking at, are they appropriate here? Can we, like for example, we don't have somebody on staff who's an eating disorder expert. And we have a lot of students who are coming forward saying they're struggling with their eating, disordered eating. So we have 2 contacts.
I was going to lead into my next question, actually, as far as what the common themes are. Are there some certain elements you mentioned, food insecurity, housing insecurity, things like that?
Mhm.
What are the most common themes that you hear?
Common themes, honestly, I'm going to let you know that a common theme is perfectionism. And when you look at perfection, you think of straight A's. These are students who are coming in and they do well on the first test and they just completely shut down. And so they stop going to classes. They avoid reaching out for help. So I am a really big fan of acceptance and commitment therapy, and that means really leaning in and feeling those uncomfortable feelings, but also looking at what are your values, what are your goals, how can we align those values and take actions to move you closer. And so that may mean doing exercises to sit with uncomfortable feelings and what's that like. But perfectionism actually comes up very frequently with our students. Struggling to make it to class on time, what it means if they fail out for their families, for our first generation students. So that has been a common theme within the last couple of weeks, especially around midterms.
Do we know the number of students on campus with mental health or diagnoses?
No, I don't have that. No, I don't have that information. I would say that we probably, I wouldn't be able to tell you the exact percentage, but I would say almost every student who is working with a therapist ongoing could probably meet the criteria of anxiety or depression. Those are the most common.
One more question. Your services and everything that you have to offer, does every student know about it? And if not, what are we doing to make sure that every student that enrolls, that starts, knows about the services that you provide? A lot of people, such as myself, when I went to school, yes, I saw, and I echo what you're saying about the helpline, and I guess the stigma at that point. But just how are we reaching students to make sure that they know that there's a place that they can go and get the help they need, or just talk to somebody sometimes?
Yeah, I think that's a good point to make. So I've been fortunate enough to be able to partake in orientation as well as go into classrooms. That's faculty have reached out to me asking if I can talk about the counseling center. I think there's obviously more that we can do. When my part-time counselors have tabling events, that's when they're able to have those conversations, and a lot of the time the students do not know where the counseling center is, so that is something that keeps coming up for us. But I think really what's going to help make some change is our students talking to each other about the counseling center. and sharing. We actually have students who will walk their friends into the counseling center on a regular basis, being like, here it is, here's Diana, make an appointment. You know? I think really shifting our gaze to our students just help each other out. I think that's really going to make those connections of where the counseling center is and what other resources we're offering. In addition to individual one-on-one counseling, we're also offering a lot of other avenues to focus on their wellness here for them to be successful.
Anyone else? Diana, that was a fabulous presentation. I just want to give everyone a bit of background quickly, because we're running late. Pierre and I had actually talked about moving this past, but I thought it was important enough that we talked about this now. The reason we closed the counseling center were multiple reasons. One, we didn't have students on campus, but more than that, if I can recall correctly, Bridget may remember, so would Diana, so Marcia, that there was some conflict between the administration and the individual leading the counseling center. At the time, we decided to go with a telehealth model because, as Diana said it correctly, a lot of crises occur at 11 o'clock at night. And the model we went with would A, save us money, but more importantly, at the time we looked into a lot of them. We thought this was the best because if you were calling because you had LGBTQ issues, they would match you with someone with that expertise. If you had eating disorders, they would match you with someone with that expertise. But and if you've read the report, the middle stage report, you'll discover that actually when students came back on campus, while some of them liked this because it's fast, it's easy, a lot of other ones needed the actual ongoing talk therapy, the therapy, et cetera. So, but listening to you, the way you're blending in the office or the center with everybody else working together, this holistic approach, it's great. I'm serious about that. I'm old enough to remember when people didn't discuss. If they said anything, they would whisper it. They had the cancer. They had mental health issues. That's not the way it should be ever. And this is a way to keep moving that needle forward to me by discussing it openly with everybody and understanding that there's a cross-pollination. Students will not do well if they're not mentally ready to succeed. The idea that perfectionism is too much is shocking to me, but maybe it's not, because isn't that what I read about young people having problems with all the posting of their perfect lives with each other? And I mean, we had the same thing when I was young. I remember it was, oh, they're so popular, they're just perfect. But it's thrown in your face now in a way that it wasn't back then. You know, you could go home, you didn't see all that. Now, wherever you go, you're followed by this, and you see it, and you think you're not measuring up. And I think that's, I hadn't thought about this, but that's something that counseling really can help with. So, thank you for that presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, quickly, sorry. Liaison reports. I did not make the last association, but Secretary Cloud did. Yay, Dara, thank you.
With joyous help. We met last week on March 20th, thank you, and approved the minutes. We appointed by resolution Tina Kiernan, NTE representative, and Matthew Palmatier, CSEA representative, as members of the Board of Directors. And that was, the resolution was adopted unanimously. The board was provided with a financial report for the period ending December 31st, 2022. Financial updates were provided on the residence hall, bookstore, dining services, daycare, student activities, athletics, and miscellaneous funds. And the board was given a report on operations. For the residence hall, on February 14th, applications for the residence hall for the fall 23 semester opened. That's earlier than usual. The resident hall staff is working with those with incomplete applications to get them in. They're looking to hire RAs for the fall 23 semester. 6 RAs will be graduating in the spring. And the COVID-19 protocol's working well. But
She's one of them.
sorry.
I'd stay if I
could. Of 52 rapid test boxes administered, there's only been 1 positive case since the beginning of the semester. As regards athletics, the men's basketball team finished their season as a Region 15 champions, the Northeast District champions, and the number 12 ranked team in the country for NJCAA Division III basketball. And just aside, if you went to the gala, the foundation gala, where we inducted 2 people into the Hall of Fame, one came to Dutchess specifically to play basketball. So I thought that was a great, legacy. Baseball season's underway. The team had their season opener on March 23rd. The board was informed on community partnerships such as facility rental for the spring and summer semesters. This year's annual athletic banquet will be held on April 26th, and more information will be forthcoming. Dining services will hold an open forum on March 28th in Conklin Hall Atrium to gather feedback on food services from students. As regards to daycare, it's relicensing with the Office of Children and Family Services this spring for the 23 to 27 terms. Steering committee has been meeting regularly to discuss the expansion of the daycare center and nursery lab school. As regards new business, the college's new website was launched on March 22nd. A short video on student reactions to the website was shared with the board, and it was really positive. It was very fun to watch. The next meeting for the association will be held in June.
Any questions for Darren? Frank? Foundation.
Thank you, Chairman, and Bridge to Community honoree, Chairman Dupree. I have to commend Diana and the foundation team for a beautiful gala. It was, I've been going to that event probably for the better part of 15 years or so, since it started. And I have to say, it was probably one of the better ones that you put on, so I think it was really spectacular. 340 attendees, a net of about $85,000 to the foundation. Several new connections were made, one of which is United Airlines. And kudos, I'm told, to Steve Caswell. He was the last trustee standing that evening. There must be something behind that, Diana, but she put that in the minutes.
I had to give kudos. He said, look, they've all left, I'm still here.
Well, kudos to Dr. Jordan's wife, because I think she got a hold of his wallet. She was cashing out over at the auction. The Handel Family Foundation Grease Fan Trust for Genocide and Holocaust Studies will be held on April the 13th. Dinner at 5, lecture at 7. If you've not RSVP'd to Laura Simmons, please do so ASAP. Honors Convocation will be held on May the 17th at 11:45 at the Grandview. Formal invitations will follow. And save the date for the golf tournament, which will be held on May the 22nd at the links at Unionvale, 10 a.m. shotgun start. If you do not formally golf, like myself, you're welcome to attend just the dinner, the awards and raffle auction, and those invitations will also follow. Of course, in your packets, there is also a really nice program booklet, which was from the gala. Please do take that with you this evening.
Any questions or comments for Frank? Thank you. I just want to thank again the foundation for being one of the honorees that night. More importantly, I wrote in my thank you to you. For those who were here last month, the trustees, there was a statement by Whitney, the Student Resource Navigator, and she changed it a little bit, but I have to tell you that was one of the highlights of the evening. When she talked about all the stuff that DCC Cares has done and listed how many students, what people did, the impacts, and they had a little QR code and said, we know you've given a lot, but if you could just try to give a little bit more. And everyone at my table whipped out their cell phones going, wow, this was, they may have been giving 20 cents or 20 bucks, I don't know, but it was really great to have someone really talk to you about all the students that they've helped and the variety of students. Like the swim coach who took care of his grandmother and was going to drop out because he couldn't pay rent. It was very impactful and meaningful. As I said, for all my table, they're like, we didn't know that DCC Cares had grown this much. Because these are people who come once a year to the foundation gala, so having that kind of update was, as I said, it was very impactful. So congratulations to all who organized that.
We did have one donor give us $5,000 that night.
Woohoo!
And told me to call in the beginning of October, and he has more money for us.
Wow, that's great.
All from that speech. That's what I'm saying. You just don't know sometimes what it is. And Mr. Daly, the first honoree who was sworn in for the alum, who was the former CEO of Foot Locker, was like a kid in a candy store the whole night.
He was so thrilled.
He was so happy and thrilled. His family was happy and thrilled. When I came over to shake his hand, they were like, oh, you're coming over here? And I'm like, dude, you flew all the way down here. Yeah, absolutely. I can come over, walk over here and shake your hand. So it was a lovely evening, seriously. So.
And thank you for sponsoring a table of the students. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
very
We had
nice.
so much fun. We stayed till 11 till the band told us, "Okay, guys, thank you. This was great. Go home." Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was the last trustee.
I know you were like the last.
It's 12 midnight, yeah.
Susie
No.
McCormick and Michael McCormick for the they were there after I left.
So if there's nothing else, then we'll move on to the regular meeting. But first, would anyone like to take a bathroom break or? Oh, yes. And Trustee Ghartey has to leave for a meeting. So let's take a 5-minute break, and I'll call us back to order at 7:25. Thank you, Lisa, for making it to the workshop. Thank you. Calling the meeting to order now. Ms. Ponticello, can you call the roll?
Ms. Sheila Appel. Ms. Amina Guzman Muhammad.
Here.
Mr. Frank Costello.
Here.
Mr. Stephen Caswell.
Here.
Ms. Dara Cloud.
Here.
Mr. Michael Dupree.
Here.
Ms. Angela Flesland.
Here.
Ms. Lisa Ghartey. Mr. Ibis Guzman.
Here.
Ms. Linda Pratt.
Here.
Water present.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I believe, Joanne, there's no public comments tonight. No one signed up. Thank you. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes of our last meeting on March 7th, 2023? Thank you, Angela.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Committee reports. Academic and Student Affairs is first. Lisa had to leave, I assume. I'm not sure who's going to do this now.
I think it's.
Aha,
me.
Dara. Thank you.
All right. The Professional Staff Organization Semester Update. Karen Riddle, Chair of the PSO, is invited to the meeting to talk to the board about the role of the PSO and how to better communicate to the board ideas and matters of relevance to the PSO. By resolution, the board agreed to have the PSO meet with the Academic and Student Affairs Committee once per semester. In addition to giving an overall view of the structure of the PSO, Dr. Riddle informed the board that the PSO is a recommending body regarding educational matters. Since the members are on the front line, they can provide valuable information to the board and administration as they make decisions and set policy. Dr. Riddle shared with the members of the committee the issues of most concern to the PSO. 1, technology improvements. 2, faculty workload. And 3, enrollment. The Middle States update. Susan Rogers spoke briefly about the reasons for continued Middle States updates. She said it's important for the board to be involved and be part of the visit that's scheduled in April. A reception and dinner will be held on the first evening of the team's visit. Then the team will spend 2 full days at the college reviewing data and interviewing people. On the last morning of the visit, the team will report on its findings. At the March 28th workshop, the Middle States team will review the self-study with board members and answer any questions they may have. The strategic plan update. Dr. Jordan presented the final draft of the strategic plan that included the recommendations that were received from the board. At the March 28th board meeting, the board will be asked to adopt the following portions of the plan: slogan, mission, core values, lenses, and institutional goals. Faculty promotions and tenure recommendations. Last year, 26 individuals were recommended for promotion, and 11 promotions were granted with the understanding, MOA with DUE, that the 15 that were deferred would be promoted this upcoming academic year. These promotions will be presented for approval at the upcoming board meeting. The Promotion and Tenure Committee has recommended that 2 individuals be granted tenure this year. Dr. Jordan endorsed this recommendation, and a resolution approving tenure will be presented for approval at the March meeting. And finally, Dr. Jordan informed committee members that the Policy Committee is in process of developing a policy regarding granting degrees posthumously. Once it's approved by the board, this committee will be asked to recommend granting a degree to a specific student who passed away.
Any questions? And you have a resolution, Trustee Cloud? If you don't, here it is.
That's
There
the
it is.
approval of the.
Yep, yep.
I, Dara Cloud, offer the following resolution and move it to its adoption. Do you want the whereases?
No.
Okay. Slogan. Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby adopts the following slogan, mission, vision, core values, lenses, and institutional goals. Slogan, where community meets opportunity. Mission, Dutchess Community College offers access to a broad range of learning opportunities and experiences to meet the educational needs of a diverse community. Vision, we empower our community to achieve their intellectual, economic, and creative capacities to contribute as informed and engaged members of our society. Core values, collaboration, engagement, equity, innovation, excellence. Lenses, student learning, community growth. Lens 1, students develop lifelong learners. DCC provides students with a holistic educational experience which supports greater engagement, persistence, and goal completion. DCC is committed to being a student-ready college. Lens 2, learning, connect instruction with in-demand skills and careers. DCC aligns learning with academic and career paths while promoting intellectual curiosity and growth. DCC offers the infrastructure required to support exceptional instruction and learning. Lens 3, community, ensure access to learning across generations and the education pipeline. DCC fosters an internal environment that promotes inclusion, collaboration, and a deep sense of belonging. DCC strengthens external partnerships with public and private stakeholders to provide and promote learning opportunities. Lens 4, growth, fuel individual economic and workforce development. DCC uses evidence to develop and improve programming, marketing, recruitment, and retention efforts to serve a larger and more diverse community of learners. DCC is committed to employee learning and professional development to benefit individuals and the college.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Abis. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Dara. Next item on the agenda is board policy. I don't think you have any resolutions, Abis, but did you want to say anything about where you are, what you guys are doing?
Just real quick, we did meet on March 8th. We had a Middle States update as well. There were 2 new proposed policies that we will be bringing to the board in April, which is the library collection development and granting degrees posthumously. The policies that we're reviewing fairly soon here is the procurement policy and the emergency management policy. They have been recommended for reaffirmation and they will be brought to the board in April. Committee members will receive other procedural documents related to these policies before the April meeting, and the other policies that we're looking into are the accommodative services, anti-bullying, and equal opportunity, access, employment, and fair treatment. And we're also having the college's insurance carrier conduct some risk assessments, reviews for those. Also, the investment policy is slated for review later this year.
That's a big. Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Abis? Thank you, Chair Guzman. Next is Finance and Facilities. Tonight will be presented by Trustee Caswell.
All right, thank you. Here's a summary of the Finance and Facilities Committee activities for this past month. First, at our committee meeting, we again received an update on the Middle States and their upcoming visit. Board members had received an update on Middle States at the board meeting held the week before our meeting, at which time we received a copy of the self-study document. Dr. Jordan asked us to review the document in preparation for the upcoming visit. We had a review and discussion of the document at our workshop just prior to tonight's meeting. We had a capital project in the amount of $500,000 for the construction of the Mechatronics and HVAC laboratories at DCC Fishkill. This was approved as a capital project by the Board of the Trustees and the county. It's been submitted for inclusion into the 2023-2024 state budget. Bids were requested and 2 bids were received, one of which did not meet specifications. The second bid was acceptable, and a resolution will be presented in a moment to award the contract to PVS Construction in the amount of $287,700. And additional funding from the county and the New York State Future Workforce Centers has been awarded to outfit the labs at DCC Fishkill. Adam Rathburn presented a draft of the college's 2024 to 2028, that's a 5-year capital budget request. He reviewed with the committee members the projects that are planned for 2024. These include furniture, fixtures, and equipments, and technology replacements and upgrades, campus site repairs and upgrades, Hudson Hall upgrades and renovations, Falcon Hall upgrades and renovations, and sports fields improvements. We also talked about the timeline for the 2023-2024 budget process. A draft budget will be presented to the Finance and Facilities Committee next month in April. The full board will vote on the budget in May, and then in June, the budget will be presented to the county, and a public hearing date and vote will be set for July. After approval by the county, the budget will then be submitted to SUNY. All right. Our committee focused on the financial aspects of the personnel resolutions that you'll hear about in a minute. Dr. Jordan reported that as per the MOU with DO, the 15 faculty promotions that were deferred from last year will be presented at tonight's board meeting. The total cost, including benefits, is approximately $200,000 and will be included in the personnel budget. The Promotions and Tenure Committee has recommended that 2 faculty members be granted tenure. Dr. Jordan will be recommending they be approved at the board meeting tonight as well, and there's no cost associated with these 2 faculty members being granted tenure. And finally, Dr. Jordan informed committee members that the board will also be asked to approve 3 new professional titles related to the MOU with DO that was previously approved by the board. The cost of these provisions is approximately $80,000 and can be covered in the current year's budget. And in other matters, as was mentioned earlier, at a meeting of the policy committee, it was decided that the college's investment policy should be reviewed and appropriate procedures be created. Dr. Jordan indicated that the Finance Committee should be involved in this review and possibly appoint a subcommittee to work with the college's investment banker going forward. So, of course, the committee will discuss that further at future meetings. So that concludes. Oh, so now I do have one resolution.
Yeah, but thank you. Anybody have any questions for that report?
Okay. Yep.
If there aren't anything, read on.
Okay, so I do have one resolution, resolution number 2023-17. I, trustee Stephen Caswell, offer the following resolution and moves its adoption. Whereas bids were duly advertised and requested for Mechatronics HVAC lab renovations, and whereas 2 bids were received as a result of the solicitation and were publicly opened and read aloud at 2 p.m. on March 10th, 2023, and whereas the vendors provided pricing as such on the tabulation sheet attached to this resolution, and whereas 1 bid did not meet the specifications, and whereas the funds for Mechatronics HVAC lab renovations will be made available through capital project funds, now therefore be it resolved that the bid received for Mechatronics HVAC lab renovations in accordance with the specifications be awarded to PVS Construction LLC, Poughkeepsie, New York, in the amount of $287,700.
Is there a second? Thank you, Angela. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any nays or abstentions? That motion carries unanimously as well. Thank you, Steve.
All right, thank you.
The next item on the agenda is Personnel and Community Relations, chaired by Ms. Flesland. Angela?
To not repeat myself for what you have heard my colleagues say, personnel met on March 9th. We discussed many of the things that you have heard the other committees discuss, and we also discussed personnel matters. The first resolution, Resolution 2020. I offer the following and move its adoption. Actually, no, sorry, I'm going out of order. Sorry, Joya, I was practicing the names again.
I know.
Okay. Resolution 18. I offer the following and move its adoption. Whereas it has been determined that to meet the needs of the college, the following new titles need to be created. ESL, English as a Second Language Professional Tutor, Reading and Literacy Professional Tutor, Tutoring Coordinator. Whereas Section 35 of the Civil Service Law requires the title determination of positions in the professional service be made by the Board of Trustees. Now, therefore, be it resolved that approval is hereby given to create the aforementioned titles of ESL, Professional Tutor, Part-Time, reading and literacy professional tutor, part-time, tutoring coordinator, full-time in the professional service. Is there a second?
Second.
That was quick. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Resolution 19, I offer the following and move its adoption. Be it resolved that based upon the recommendation of the president of the college, the following faculty members are granted tenure effective September 1st, 2023. Mariana Milo, Assistant Professor, Department of Allied Health and Biological Sciences. Nancy Peretta, Instructor, Department of Allied Health and Biological Sciences. Is there a second?
Second.
I don't know who went first on that one. We'll say ABs. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Resolution 20. I apologize in advance if I say anyone's name wrong. I probably will. I offer the following and move its adoption. Be it resolved that based upon the recommendation of the president of the college, the following faculty members are promoted in rank effective September 1st, 2023. From instructor to assistant professor. David Gavner, Shallon Halliger, Gordon Lake, Jennifer Santosuso, Thomas Winship. From assistant professor to associate professor. Jason Bishop, Dinor Danabala, Ahmed Ismail, Manish Jadhav, Samantha Langton, Scott Willman. From associate professor to full professor. Sandra De Guzman, Kathleen Greenan, Mehmet Kukozer, and Brenda Squires. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. I mean, any further discussion? I'm going to quickly say congratulations. You made it through those names.
I was going to
pretty
say
downhill.
congratulations to all of the individuals.
No, and congratulations to the individuals.
Much more impressive
I'm
than my
giving them
pronunciation.
both, to them and to you. Those were some tough names. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? That motion carries unanimously as well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Next item on the agenda is report of the student trustee.
Hello. Hello? Okay, cool. All right. Okay, this may be long. I'm going to try to speak slow. I really am. Okay, so student activities. The Writing Center is hosting a poetry slam this Thursday. I'm going to be performing. Wish me luck, y'all. I really want to win. Dress for Success is happening on April 5th for the career fair on April 12th. Dutchess Film Society and the Women's History Committee are showing Harriet on March 31st. Bagels and Bio with Professor Condon is continuing this Friday as well as April 13th and 27th. Alcohol and Consent Workshop on April 6th, hosted by the Counseling Center. A Women in STEM panel discussion on Friday, actually free to the entire community. Conklin Hall activities, as Trustee Clough shared, Chartwell's is doing a dining service focus group with the students tonight at 7, which started already. So after, well, I originally attended after this meeting. I don't know if I'll be able to make it, but you know, it is what it is. Okay, a little after that, FDA Genesis will be hosting a journal decorating. FDA Cali Row will be showing residents how to manage their attention span and focus on work when it needs to get done. This will take place on March 31st at 5 p.m. and residents who attend will receive fidget toys to ease nerves and anxiety in class. A little after that, R.A. Ashton will be hosting an Easter egg door tag decorating event. Yeah, and finally, R.A. Mina will be hosting a life skills from anime characters event on April 15th, which is also Anime Appreciation Day. Okay, SGA updates from today's meeting. There were 2 guest speakers. Joe Riley from ACT spoke about the career fair, Dress for Success, and Handshake in app students can use to find jobs. Dr. Rogers also gave the Middle States update and invited 2 SGA members to sign up for the Middle States visiting team dinner reception on April 16th. SGA is still working on finding candidates to run for the executive board, but hope is still high. Yeah. Conklin Hall government updates this Thursday. We'll be meeting to finalize a Make Your Own Boba event for the residents this month, as well as collaborating with student activities for a big end of school year bash. And my current tasks are assisting HallGov with planning these events and reaching out to Joseph Constantino, chair of the LGBTQIA+ of DCC committee, about LGBTQ+ training for staff and faculty. Any questions? Sorry, I went fast. I realized it halfway and was like, well, it's too late.
Your Dress for Success, are you looking for clothing to be donated for that?
Now that, I'm not exactly sure about that one. I think they would welcome that.
I think they would.
Yeah.
They would. Okay.
Yes.
Can you guys send us that info and we can help to get it out? Because I mean, like, I know I have quite a few things that don't fit anymore, unfortunately. And I'm sure a lot of other people have those put on that pandemic. So I think a lot of us could probably go through our closets and find some things.
Very generous.
So.
And for everyone's edification, can you explain who the executive board is of SGA?
Yeah, currently, or what we're looking for?
No, what did the positions are involved?
Okay. President, vice president, secretary, treasurer, chief justice, and student trustee. Everyone, because all of us are graduating.
That's so.
Yeah.
So we were fortunate. Amina was in government last year as well and took this on. But we also there was some discussion because a lot of people didn't realize it. We used to have the president of SGA be the student trustee as well, and that was divided because it was too much activity on the students. It was affecting them academically. Thank you, Amina. Again, as always, your enthusiasm shines through. Next item on the agenda is my report, and I'll try to be quick as well. Under Finance Administration, there was Title IX training conducted for 18 residence hall students at their request, which is interesting because Title IX involves, as we know, sexual harassment, et cetera. And this was done at their request, so it's interesting that they requested it, and we want to thank HR for conducting it. As the IT Information Technology Report, the IT team has put into place security enhancements such as multi-factor authentication. Our cyber insurance renewal premium decreased significantly. We're now able to actually increase our coverage while still decreasing our current premium by $3,000, which is important because usually they just go up. There are also several new student support IT systems that have been implemented, including Accommodate, which is a software that tracks the approval and delivery of accommodations, and Award Spring, a software which has streamlined the scholarship process for students, making it easier for them to apply for and be matched with scholarships for which they qualify. Enrollment and student success. The ESS offices have been working with our colleagues at Marist to continue to funnel denied students at Marist to DCC as an alternate path. If they come here and graduate, then they automatically transfer, I believe, to Marist automatically transfer to Marist.
We're actually doing a 1 year.
A 1 year, okay. Oh, really? Wow, that's great, Scott. Thank you. We were also selected as one of 8 SUNY schools to host Operation Inform this fall. This series provides an opportunity for school counselors and SUNY mission representatives to discuss what's new across the entire SUNY system, as well as discuss current issues facing our students. The SUNY Office of Opportunity Program awards the Norman McKinney Award to a student from each campus who displays exceptional drive and perseverance. We want to congratulate Ichiro Santos Arias as the winner of this year's award. He'll be honored at a reception and ceremony in Albany on April 17th. The Hispanic leadership of SUNY provided this year's cohort with the opportunity to attend the Somos Conference, one of the largest gatherings of New York State leadership, including the governor and the chancellor. Assistant Dean and EOP Director Doris Diaz-Kelly is our campus HLI fellow this year. The Residence Hall housing application opened this year on February 14th. This is the earliest it's ever been, and I'm glad to tell you that we have currently over 30 committed applicants for next year compared to only 4 at this point last year. The Dutchess County Youth Board awarded $20,000 through the DCC Foundation to the DCC Cares Surviving to Thriving initiative, which you basically heard of a lot of tonight, that it's providing dropout prevention services, counseling, as well as emergency funds to address basic needs as we go forward. Academic departments, Karen Rydell, the Associate Professor of Government, took her Government 219, which is Global Politics students, on a field trip to UN headquarters on February 13th. They observed a parliamentary hearing entitled Water for People and Planet, Stop the Waste, Change the Game, Invest the Future. The students were able to observe global leaders engaging on the international stage, hear about the different perspectives and interests of the countries, and saw the complexities involved in trying to find global solutions to global problems. Workforce development, we received over $150,000 in grants to offset training costs for several companies, including Hudson Valley Credit Union, ShopRite, Rugies Automotive Inc., and in Rhinebeck, and several Council of Industry companies. Between January and March of this year, 103 people have begun training under these programs. Workforce Development also launched Handshake, which is a career management software for students which helps them connect with employers for jobs or internship opportunities. Currently, there are 54 employers and over 21,000 students have signed up to participate, which I think is just fantastic. In the Learning Commons, Dana Gavin, the Acting Director of the Writing Center, is a presenter at the 2023 NER Comp Annual Conference taking place now. That's why she's not here. Dana will be working with a group of 8 presenters from Harvard University, Bryant University, and College Unbound to discuss policy development for artificial intelligence generative tools. That's what ChatGPT is, in case you're wondering, in teaching and learning. Dana will work with the Learning Center to provide a workshop for faculty and staff at DCC once she returns. After a planning semester in the fall, the Teaching Learning Center hit the ground running this spring with the following endeavors. Professional development workshops included Who Are Your Students, held on February 22nd, Who Are Your Colleagues, held on March 15th, and Who Are You, which will be held on April 10th. These workshops are all related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's also now a live calendar that can be updated to list any professional development opportunity that is available on campus. They've offered several open enrollment resource workshops, and they've committed to streamlining the internal funding application process for professional projects related to student success. Finally, the marketing department has successfully incorporated a Spanish translation feature to the new website. Congratulations. I've been hearing more and more about this from a variety of people that most websites should have now Spanish language translation on them. And last Tuesday, as you've been heard earlier, the new website was finally launched. It still has some things to be worked out. Ms. Pollard behind there will be talking, has mentioned to me that we need more about the alumni giving, which is on its way. But I had a chance to watch with Peter the video where students talked about the website, and if you don't walk out with a big grin on your face, then your heart's a turnip, put it that way. Because no, those students were like, it's so easy to navigate, it's this, it's this, it's this. I didn't hear any criticisms, and there were a lot of students there. So congratulations on that success, and that concludes my report.
So it's featured on the screen.
Yes.
On the homepage.
Thank you. If there are no questions, then next item is Peter's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be brief. First, I want to say thank you to the board for the resolutions you've passed this evening, especially for voting to approve the college's strategic plan, which is really important in terms of moving the college forward. So thank you for that action. In addition, I want to point out that, and I said this during our workshop, that Adam and myself had the opportunity to meet with state representatives to do some advocacy around the upcoming budget. We met with Senator Rob Rollison, Assembly Member Dee Dee Barrett, as well as Assemblyman Jonathan Jacobson, and we're going to be meeting with Senator Michelle Hinchey on Thursday. So those conversations have gone quite well, and they are very supportive of what SUNY and community colleges are advocating for in terms of the budget this year. That includes the floor, meaning setting our budget, state budget at 100% of this year's funding, plus 4%, among other things. So that's the extent of my report, and thank you for hanging with us until almost 8 o'clock.
Any questions for Dr. Jordan, President Jordan? I just want to point out, because someone asked me the other day, why are you asking for 4% as well? I said, did you see the inflation rate the last 2 years? So we're lucky that if we can continue the floor so that it doesn't decrease based on full-time equivalents, we still need the 4%. So I'm just saying this because if any of you know or have met any of the legislators that were referenced, please tell them that as a trustee, you really do want them to pass the 4+4, because I don't think that was in the governor's bill. or the governor's budget, put it that way. So it's going to be worked out in negotiations. Is there any other business tonight or an item for a future agenda? There being none, may I get a motion to adjourn after I point out that the next meeting will be April 25th. Thank you, Amina. Second? Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. Thank you, staff, for televising, et cetera, and thanks everyone for joining us tonight.
Can we have reminders for this?